Mesechta Bava basra daf kuf samach daled amud aleph. We're starting for kuf samach gimel amud beis. Gufam and Frigelab, we learned early on. Omar Rav said, Star, habahu, the aid of Allah mechok, kosher, a star, which the ksav and the chsimis are on a erased document. He erased it was, let's say, there was a written document and it was fully erased. And then you have the star written over again, over the erased part, with the signatures. It's kosher. Yeah. It's both. They're both on it. Let's worry. Look, they're both on erased, right? So now you have the signature on the erased. So now you'll erase it again on the top. And write a new story. You could remember Sach Megel. This is $10,000, $100,000. The same star. He'll just erase it another time. Says, well, he erased it another time. You'll see a difference. No comparison. Right. When you sign on the one time that they erased. Right. But now you're saying you're going to erase the top that was already written one time and erased. Now you're erasing again and you're writing on the second time that you erased.
Why is the second time?
They first had a writing of a star. They erased the whole thing, wrote the star with the chsimis. Now he's going to keep the chsimis on the erasure. And the top of the star, he's going to erase it again and write a new story, a much bigger amount. Right. So we say that you'll be able to tell because you look at the chsima between something that you wrote over, something that was erased once, versus something that was wrote over on something that was erased twice, is a major difference. He says you can tell the difference. He says, I hear you. What did they do? They wrote the whole star again, the same case, the whole star over erased thing. Okay. Now, before they wrote it over the erased, he poured again a tint by the place of the chsima, and he erased it. Again. Why? Oh, so now, when he writes it, when he signs it, so the first one that he wrote was, he wrote over erased once. The chsima he's going to write over something that was erased twice. Then later on, he's going to change the story, put the story over again, will be over twice, and the signature was already written over something that was twice. Over here. He only threw tint on the place where he's supposed to sign. Then they erased it. They erased the whole document.
So the symbol, he could add whatever he wants.
Hold on again. Let's start again. He writes the whole star. First, there was a star written. He erased the whole star. He writes again, right? But before he writes it again, here by the chsima he throws tint. More tint, and then he scrapes it off.
Why does he do this?
Because it should be a second, right when the first signature comes on, it should come on a signature on a place where it was erased twice. And now he's going to change the story one more time, so they'll match. The chsima will match now with the... Says the Gemara, so let's worry about that. Let us be afraid that he'll throw ink. Amekoim Eidim in the place where the Eidim are supposed to sign. They cut it right at the beginning, before the Eidim sign. He'll just throw ink again, so then it'll be a second mechika. And now the chihod, the machikle lahai. When he's by the ksav, he's going to erase and put another ksav. Now everything matches. Und ist not in the mention. Abaye kisava rav ein eidim chisim ala machak elam kem nimchak b'fneim. If he's going to see that the makim achsimis were already machuk, and the makim achsav was not machuk, the eidim are not going to sign it unless they saw, only if they saw that again. If they see it's machuk, they're not going to sign. If they come. Ein eidim chisim ala machak. Only if it's going to if their signatures were signed and then they erased it in front of them, okay. But if they didn't see, then they're not going to sign. Fact, you want to make it. Love the Frank Nakasha. Who? The ksav of the story of what had happened is written on paper that was never erased. The Eidav, but on the bottom, the Eidav are going to sign ala mechak on the erased area. Says you want to kosher, that's kosher. In fact, you wonder why? Nechash, let us be concerned Dilma machrik lei. Maybe he's going to erase the top part, which was written on good paper. Now he's going to erase it. The customer the boy is going to write whatever he wants. And now the Eidim will leave. The Eidim was the Chatchila sign on an erased area. The story of the star was not on an erased area. So now he's going to, what we said it's kosher. But let us worry, he's going to take whatever's written in the star, erase it, write a new story, he owes me much more money. So now the top and the bottom will match. Says the Gemara, no. The Kosev Hachi. When they write, when the Edom sign, they write, Anachna Sade Chasamno Al Mechaka. Us Edim. When Miriam Yechasmet, we chasmet on a part of a paper that was erased. Ushtara. And the story of the stocks of Al Niyar was on a paper that was never erased. It's on the same paper, but on what they wrote, the story of the star was not erased. And they're writing, but we signed on the part that was erased. So we'll know right away that if there's a erasure on the top, hey, we wrote that it was on not an erased paper, the story. So says the Gemara, where are they going to write this point that the signatures were on the part that it was erased, and the story of the star was on the part that was not a new paper. I like that word, a new paper, not erased. Where are they going to write it? If they're going to write it on the bottom of the star, in fact, all he has to do, he cuts those words out. It's on the bottom of the star, and nobody will know nothing. Says the Gemara, and if he's going to write it on top of the signatures, he'll erase it. And nobody will know the difference. Says the Gemara, the Kasvei Bein Sahad al-Asada. You have two Eidos. There has to be a space between the two signatures. So in between the two Eidos, he's going to write that the Chsima is on a part of the star that's erased, and the story of the star is on the new paper, like you said. So now, what are we afraid? He's going to cut it out. If he cuts out, the Eid on the bottom falls on the floor. You can't cut it out. There's no Eid. You only have one Eid. And if you're going to erase it, so everybody's going to know that you erased something over there. Yeah. Says you're not going to be able to, because they're going to see something was erased there. It's like one second. Okay. Look what it says in the Sefer. Who al hamechak? If the ksav was on the erased part, the eidov and the eidov where they sign al hadayah, the opposite on the new part of the paper that was never erased, we say that's puzzle. In fact, the man might puzzle. Why should you puzzle? Let them write here the same story. Anachno sadi achasam al niyara. When we signed on the new piece of paper. Ushtar, and the whole teichen of the star is halamachaka, is on the erased piece of paper. So what's the problem? Yeah, why is it different? And the Gemara hashtanami, are you going to want to answer? So the Gemara says, you'll hashtanami meichik v'chayzer meichik. You're going to say, what? You're going to erase, and you're going to erase a second time. So that's what you're concerned about, right? That's why you're going to say it's possible. Because he'll erase it again. It's anyway erased. The ksav of the star was written on the story of the star was written on the erased part of the paper. Right. So if it was written on the erased part of the paper, we have to worry that he'll erase it again and write again. Right. So says the Gemara, that's why you're concerned, even though the Edom are kosher. But if the story of the star was written on erased paper, it's not proof that that's the real story, because it could be he erased it a second time and wrote another story. Says the Gemara.
Paper, you can erase it.
Right, but old paper, and you're writing a story on the old paper. Well, twice. How are you going to know? Says the Gemara. But Hamarti, you already said, you could tell the difference if it's one mechir once or twice. Says the Gemara, only honey milli. Why could you do that? When the signatures are also on the erased part. So when the signatures on the erased part, and if it's only the signatures are written over a one-time erasure, and the story of the star is written on twice erased, you'll see a big difference. But here we're talking about that the chsima was not on the erased part. It was written on Nu Nayar, so you won't know the difference. Says the Gemara. Only if the signatures of the Eidim were on the erased part. But in our case, where the Eidim are not signed on the erased part, they're signed on the new piece of paper, how would you know the difference between something that was the top of the paper, which was erased twice, and the bottom? The bottom is the signatures are not signed on erased. It's written, it's signed on a new paper. If it was signed on erased paper and it was signed only on one-time erasure, and the story was signed, it was written on after twice erasing, then you see the difference. But our case is talking about that the chsimas was on fresh paper, who never erased, and the top was only on eraser. So what are you going to go against to see the difference if it was erased once or twice? You have nothing to match it up with. Says, what to show you do? Let's bring a different Megillah, which was, and pour ink and erase it once, and match it up to this. How many times was it erased? And then erase that new Megillah once, and now put it side by side and see if it looks the same and it was only erased once. If it doesn't, you know it was erased twice. Says, you want to know? He says every parchment is different. You have parchments which are thicker, some thinner, so there's no way of telling unless it's on the same document itself. But the two different documents, they come from different places, and some are thicker and some are thinner. You won't be able to tell the difference. Says the Gemara, he says, the Gemara continues to ask, let us accept the Eidos. Look, you have Eidos signed on fresh paper. I mean, chasma on the fresh paper, right? So Bezin comes and writes on another paper that this document, we saw the Eidim, were signed. Perfect. It's a kim, dishtar kim. Now they come and erase the signatures, and they have the Eidim write it again. So it's one time erased. And now it's all on the same document. You look, let's look at where the Eidim are signed on the erased. And the story is signed on the erased. Let's see if the erased is the same. If it was erased twice on the top and on the bottom we had it signed, if the one time erased, and you see there's a difference, you know this guy's coming up with a story over here. He erased it the second time. So Rabbi Yishaya said, he says, look, you're talking about the Ksava the Star already went by 2 days. So 2 days went by, so it's and today you're going to have Adam sign. You're going to erase the Eidim, you're going to have them signed fresh today, you're not going to see the difference. Says, you want to believe Shaya? Huh? It's not going to be proof, because here it's Ben Yoim, it's fresh. And the other one is old, so it says, you want to believe Shaya? If the 24 hours, it's the same, then it's all the same, so let us wait. And then let them sign on the erased part. We're concerned a Bezdin will make a mistake and they won't be careful to wait, and they'll make them sign right away, and you won't be able to really have a difference. So that's why, because a Bezdin might make a mistake, we said no. If the Eidim are signed on fresh paper and the stories on the erased paper, it's possible. We can't take chances because there's no way of determining if the story was written, it was erased again, and then it was a new story on top of it. We learned in the Hemshech of the Mishnah, Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, Mekusher. You remember the get Mekusher, the star? They did it for the Kahanim. To slow the Kahanim was given Kabdonim. They were heated people, and if the wife set up a sazeh, or you give them up a move with the nuz, a crumb with the nuz, and give off him like the get. So we said, you can't throw the get, you got to write a get Mekusher. One line, you got to wait. We have to now fold it, and we have to get an aid to sign inside, and then tie it up. It takes a lot of time. By the time he finished, he cools down. Yeah, that's crazy. So you have to calm him down. You can save a person but this is the whole get mekusha. So we said, well, what are the dinim of a get mekusha? You remember the differences? A get mekusha, all the vital stuff, all the serious inyanim, all the vital information
It's inside.
is written inside the Mekusha. They would fold it over.
But
They had 3 Eidim. The Eidim was signed on the back. Mashenk Get Pashut was 2 Eidim, and the Eidim was signed in the front. So the Mishnah said if you took a Get Pashut and you had the Eidim signed on the back of the Get Pashut, the Get Pashut is possible. By Get Kosher, Rab Chanina said, no, Rab Chanina ben Gamil said, on a Get Mekusha, even though the Chesimis have to be in the back, if they sign in the front, it's kosher. Why? Because you can make it into a Get Pashut. You could open up the threads and make it into a Get Pashut. So the Gemara, still it's not similar. You can saying, you could open it up and it becomes a Get Pashut, that's why it's kosher. Even though by the Get Mekusha they sign in the front, on the Get Mekusha we say because it could become a Get Pashut. It says Gemara, still differences. You can't of a Pashut. The Get Mekusha, the Zman that's written in a Get Mekusha is not similar to the Zman that's written in a Get Pashut. What does that mean? He says Pashut, when they used to write the date, they would write according to the king from when he started the Melucha, how many years he's ruling. So by a Pashut, Malach Shana, if the king ruled a year, Mayolay Shana, they would count 1 year. They would say, Bishana Rishayna LaMelech Plain. It's his first year. But Shtayim, and Shtayim, if he ruled for 2 years, Mayolay Shtayim, we would count Bishnas Hashniya LaMelech Plain, the second year of that ruler, of him ruling. But Mekusha works the opposite. It works differently. Malach Shana, if he ruled for 1 year, Mayolay Shtayim, they would count it as 2 years. That's what the Goyim covered. The Goyim had that minhag, and we instituted it for a Get Mekusha should be written that way. Why would they do it? Because we want to give him the covet. We say in the first year, he's there, like it's his second year already. And in the second year, we write, it's already third year. It's more making him... Yeah, but they're saying he's strong. He's already yeshiv and he's settled. Even right after the first year, he said, he's not settled. This is his second year. So that's how they write it. And if it's the second year, it's his third year. So it's different years what you write in a Get Mekusha versus a Get Pashut. You write Kimshutze. If it's his first year in a Get Pashut. But by a Get Mekusha, no. If the first year, Shana Shniya. So it says, the Gemara, Mekusha, Malach Shana, if he ruled for 1 year, Manulay Shtayim, they write, B'Shana Shniya, L'Malach Plain. Shtayim, Manulay Shalish, they would say, B'Shana Shlish, L'Malach Plain. Not like by Get Pashut, you write Kipshuti, how many years he was. Says the Gemara, Zimnim, the Yasmin Eisus B'Mekusha. We can have a problem here. Somebody will borrow money, but he'll use what kind of a star? A star Mekusha. What's going to say in the star Mekusha? Let's say he borrowed in the second year. So in the star Mekusha, we'll say it's the third year from the Melucha. And he'll have money within the year. He won't wait till the Sefer's money. And he'll say, here's the money. I don't want to have the chayv on my head. I'm paying up. Now he pays it. But he says, Havli shtarai, give me back my star so I can rip it so you can't come to me again. The Malva, the one that lent the money, says, I know you're paying me back, but I would love to give you the star. I lost it. So because of Leitam, he says, and he writes him a receipt. But when he writes the receipt, right, he writes, let's say it's the second year. So it's the second year from the Melucha. But in the Shtar Mekusha it says it's the third year of Melucha. So when the actual time comes to collect the star, Masher Lei Pashit, the guy he shows him the receipt which is written the Pashto year, the second year. He says, Hani after me. No, he says this money is no, you paid back. And that's the right receipt, but you owe me. I lent you again because here it says it's the third year. You understand? He paid back in the second year, so he wrote Teva Kipshuta like a Pashto star. But in when he did the halva, he wrote it in a Get Mekusha, and he wrote it's the third year. So this Chochem, he gets a Teva, a receipt that's written he paid back in the second year, and he comes to collect again after he pays back. He says, "You owe me money." He says, "I have a receipt. I paid you back in the second year." Yeah, that's another avah. There's the third year. It's really the same year, but it's a get mekusha, so we add a year. It's a none. So the Gemara Kasava increasingly will show you. We're not going to let him. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel says he doesn't have to pay him back till he gives him back the get mekushar. We don't want to have it in. And if he doesn't give him back the get mekushar, he doesn't have to pay him. So even though he lost it, he says, "Goodbye, Charlie. Go look for it." Because if not, you're not getting paid. Okay. In fact, the Gemara, Umi Baki Rebbe b'Mekusha. Was Rebbe such a Baki in the dinim of Ashtar Mekusha that he asked Chanina, he asked Rabbi Chanina the Shaila. He asked the Shaila, how could you say that if he wrote, he asked Rabbi Chanina Paskin if they signed in the front of Ashtar Mekusha, even though he's supposed to sign in the back, right? He said, Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel said, it's kosher because you can make it a get pashut, right? So Rabbi asked, there'll still be a difference because you can't make it a get pashut because the zmanim on a get mekusha is different than a get pashut. That's what Rabbi asked. Who are you to ask? Rabbi, du bist das Baki und mekusha kannst sprechen Scheiles. Well, who mekusha the asla kamei the Rabbi? There was a story with a star mekusha they brought in front of Rabbi. Rabbi, star melucha, you're screaming. The star is a melucha because you're writing a postponement date. It's not even the date. It's not the date from today. Today is the second year of melucha, and you're writing the third year of melucha. It's not yet the third year of melucha. It's a star melucha. That's what Rabbi asked. So you can see, Rabbi didn't know the dinim of a star mekusha. Rabbi Zaynim said to Rabbi, Kach ben Hager shel umazu. So it was the minig of the goyim that they would write the third year to melucha, the second year, even though it was the first year, just to make him that he's there strong. Malach shana meinu leishnayim shtayim meinu leishalish. If he ruled 1 year, they would write 2 years. So they did it.
They knew that it's only 2 years, not 3 years. So they knew.
So the goyim knew it. But he says, but by Shtameh Kosher we insisted to write it. That's what Zainin told Rabbi. So it's not a Shtam. Don't worry, it's not a Shtam Melucha. So he says, but so you see, Rabbi didn't know the halachas. Where's Rabbi Tzigim Fragna Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel? So you're right. But Basa the Shama Mizainin Svara, after you heard from Zainin why by a Shtameh Kosher you write a year later, and he explained him the svara and everything behind it, and he knew all the dinim, he became a baki, and that's why he was able to ask the shaila. You can't say a person bleibt am Haaretz Alamolei, but lernen, what is am Haaretz? You learned. Rabbi Zainin taught him. Is it will sagen as amol given am Haaretz darf sagen jetzt am Haaretz not? So you learned. Weißt du? Who's daughter? There was this star that have a kasabeh b'shnas ploini orcha. And you learn, once you know it, you know it. You can't say, oh, yes, you're an Haaretz. Wer bist du zu wissen jetzt? What do you mean, wer bist du zu wissen jetzt? I learned it, and that's why I know it now. And who started to have a kasabeh b'shnas ploini orcha? There was this star in which it was written in the year, archa means melech, in that year of the king. It doesn't say which year. We have to go search when he was appointed as a king. That means it was his first year. Archon means the year of appointment. That means it's even before the.
He wasn't the king yet.
He was a king, but it wasn't a full year. It's in his first year, so they wrote Archon. In fact, maybe, how do you know Archon means the first year? In his first year of appointment, maybe the kavanah is that he was he has many years in his pocket of ruling. How do you know Archon means in his first year? So it was the minig of the Yevonim. That's what the Rashbam says. Umazu is referring to the Yevonim, the Greeks. Archon. The first year, in the first year of the Melech being a king, in the first year, you call him Archon. Shniya koirin loy digoin. In the second year, you call him digoin. Yeah, digoin means two. 15. Here he says, Digoin Hushnayim B'Yavanis. In Greek, Digoin means 2.
2 years.
It's a second. So maybe it was like Trump. Trump was president in 2016. So maybe it's such a king. They removed him. They made him back king. So how do you know when to go by? Says the they call him the second time of his first year of being king. Just like you say, President Trump number 45, then President Trump number 47. So you give him a number. So the same thing here. Archon is the first time he was appointed. Archon Digo, it means the second one. It's number 47. First time it was 45, now he's 47. So you want to tell me about him? Hina, it's a Lashon Hina. And he is, so Sumcha says, Hina. When he says Hina, it means that he was Mekabel on himself, Naziris Achas. One Naziris is minimum 30 days. So he was Mekabel on Naziris for 30 days. If he says he's being Mekabel Naziris Hina, that's 30 days. If he says Digun is a double.
60 days?
Yes. Digun is Hoshtayim. It's 2 Naziris. That's 60 days. Tzirigun in Yavanis is Shalish, is 3 Naziris. There's 90 days. Tet Rigoin, that's Arba, 4 Naziris. That's 120 days. Pentagon, that's already 5 Naziris. The Pentagon is 5 corners. Yes. Bayis Ogul, a round house that doesn't have any corners. It's a round house. You have these round houses. Digoin, or a house that has 2 corners. Trigoin, a house that is triangular. It's 3 corners. Pentagon is the Pentagon is also 5 corners. The Pentagon. They are not mitama. They don't become tummy with the tzaras that's on the walls. Tetrigoin, but if it's 4 corners, mitama negonim. A house of 4 corners, because it's a possible. Not immediately. Very good. Gemara asks, what do we know that? So Gemara to tell me about Lamaila, in the beginning of the Pasha by Nigabatim, it says Kir, and then it says Kirois, right? Which means 2 walls. It says in the Pasik, it says plural. That's 2. And then Lamat, in the Hemshach of the Pasha, in Pasik Lametes, instead of Kir, it says again Kirois. It says again Kirois. Where is that? It says V'shova koim v'yem Hashem l'roi hinei Pasa hanega bekiros. It says again plural. Another time. So that's where we learn that when it comes to a house, benegayit nega from kaisel, it has to be 4 walls. There was this get mekusha that came before Rabbi. There's no zman in this. We had this Gemara before. Rabbi said to Rabbi, Shema Beik Shar Muvla. Maybe it's in the fold that we sewed up. That's where the Zman is. So they ripped it open, and they saw the Zman. Then his Rabbi, I'm sorry, Rabbi Shimon saw his father was angry. What was he angry? Because he was against the Shtam Kusha, because he felt people are not bucky, or there's another, the Rashbam gives another reason. Rabbi was makbid, because he couldn't see the Zman at all. It was moveless so much, he was angry. Amalei Lavana Kasvei. Safta, he says, I didn't write the shtar, get the kusha. Rabbi Shimon is telling Rabbi, you know who wrote it? Rabbi Yehuda Chayot Kasvei. Rabbi Yehuda Chayot wrote it. Amalei, Rabbi got even more angry. Klach mit Lashon Hara. Halt sich ab und sagen Lashon Hara. Wette gebeten, sagen seinen Namen. Say, you didn't write it. That should have been enough. Was hast du gedacht sagen? Sie hat geschrieben? Yeah. Zimin have Yosef Kamei. The Kapasik see Rabbi Seif Tehillim. There was a time Rabbi Shimon was sitting before Rabbi learning Tehillim. Finished this 5 Chalakim Tehillim. He finished 1 Chalik. And there's a beautiful handwritten Tehillim. It was a beautiful handwriting. A Tehillim. Amalei Rabbi said, "Kabbalah Yushik Ksav. How beautiful is this Ksav?" Amalei said, Rabbi Shimon said back to his father, "Lama no Ksav. I didn't write it. Yehuda Chayot Ksav. Yehuda Chayot wrote it. But it was a beautiful Ksav." Amalei Klach Lashon Hara. Frag sich ab von der Lashon Hara. Remove yourself from this Lashon Hara. Frag the Gemara, what's the Lashon Hara? Frag the Gemara, which Lashon? It's understood by the get mekusha, which is not a good thing to do. No, that's the Ika Lashon Hara. There's Lashon Hara. He's telling me it was a beautiful handwriting. My Lashon Hara Ika. This that he said that Yehuda Chayot wrote he had a beautiful handwriting. What's a compliment? A compliment schmeckt alle. Why is he so angry? Why is it Lashon Hara? After you want to Mishum the Avdimi. The Tanur Avdimi, Yachud Rav Safra. Avdimi, the brother of Rav Safra, said, a person shouldn't start talking about so good about his friend, especially in front of his enemies. You know, you see people see, you start telling him, "Ooh, this guy is so good," and those guys, Brennan and Broughton, and they'll start him. If he talks too much good, but they're going to start talking about bad. But let's tell you, yeah, this is nice. But let me tell you who he really is. Okay, yes, it starts a conversation like that. You start with good. There are 3 avedas a person cannot be saved from it every day. Hiru aveda is like the Alter Rebbe brings down in Tanya. No, I feel aveda me. Es kommt von der Herz, schlagt sich in der Yetzirah die ganze Zeit. Es ist allemal da, you can't help it. Be in Tefillah, so the Ashbam brings down in Tefillah, there are people that daven, and they feel, oh, my davening, my Tefillahs have to be in this Kabbalah 100%. 100%. I did a perfect Tefillah, I know. So that's a problem. When somebody feels too secure, it's not the best. Here he says, he feels that the Eibishter for sure will give him his char. I daven so beautifully. Lashon Hara and Lashon Hara. What do you think? A person cannot every day. He's not nitzah from Lashon Hara. So if you want to avak Lashon Hara, it means avak Lashon Hara. Like somebody avak means like. It's a far away from Lashon. It's like dust of Lashon Hara. Tiny bit of it. Huh? Yeah, it's dust. Yeah. So what does it mean? That somebody needs a fire. He says, you need a fire. Der Mensch kocht den ganzen Tag und frisst dort. Fire ist dort, wie viel du willst. Aber you see, bei ihm brennt der Fire die ganze Zeit. Das ist not my fire. Aber wie hat er abgesagt? You know, like he spoke about it. You need a fire? Go to him. Halt mein Nest und hat Fire dort. Sag ich, Reiv begazel. Most people are stealing. What does it mean begazel? Begazel is avak zela. Umid baradoyis, and very few baradoyis. Everybody's Lashon Hara. Here it's Egel. Here it's Mamish Leirash Tips and Egel. I don't know who says it. Egel represents. So over here, Ayin is Aroyis, Gimel is Gezel, and Lamed is Lashon Hara. And yet the generation. Is fun. Und jeder Tag hat man ein bisschen von der Egel in sich. Man darf sich schlagen sich mit der Egel. It's doch halb da. That's what he's saying. The Shein Hara. Sag Daita. Fragt die what? Everybody's choshed. So over sein auf Lashon Hara. Sag die Avak Lashon Hara. It means Avak Lashon Hara.